Hello everybody. I found out a few interesting facts which you might be interested in. It might be that some people don't like it, but it's an actual fact, and I'd like to tell you about them. It's about names. I came across different names, like an Australian was calling an Englishman a pommy. So I wondered what a pommy was. So I researched it, looked it up, and I found very interesting things about names that, because of political correctness, we're not supposed to say any of them. But I'm going to tell you about them, which is actual fact. You look it up yourself anyway. And the first one is like with pommies. And I said to an Australian one day, I said, "Why do you call us pommies?" He said, "Well, you are." I didn't think too much of it until I made research into it, and the pommy is when the prisoners or the people that did wrong were sent over to Botany Bay many years ago. On their papers when they arrived, they had POHM on it. And this is where the word pommy came from. POHM meant prisoner of His Majesty or Her Majesty. And this is where the word pommy came from. So all the Australians, oh, here comes another pommy, which means somebody who's done wrong in England or stolen a penny or a sheep or something, has been sent down to Botany Bay to colonise Australia. And this is what made me think about different words. And then I went on and I found another one with the Italians. And I found that the Italians, the name that came up was a word called wop. Said, "Oh, you're an Italian wop." And the Italians used to get upset about it because many years ago, when the immigrants came over from Italy to Ellis Island in the United States, they were taken there to be characterized and all the paperwork and that done. And they were asked, "Do you have papers or do you don't have papers?" If you don't have papers, they used to stamp your papers with WOP, which meant without papers. That's all it meant. And I was wondering why Italians would want to get upset about it. It's a proper word that meant no harm or anything, but I suppose it's because somebody said, "Oh, you're a wop," and the Italian would get upset. "No, I do have papers." So that's the reason why I suppose they got upset about it, which is really, I don't know, in those days, they might have done, they might not have done, but apparently some people now say, "Oh, it's a bad word." Well, it's only a bad word because people don't know about the true meaning about it. It was like somebody said again with the Brits, they call the British limeys. And somebody said to me, "Oh, why do they call the Brits limeys?" I said, "Well, because many years ago, the seafaring sailors that came across to the Atlantic or on large, long transatlantic sailings, it would take up about 3 months to get across there in these small little boats with rickety little things. They weren't large like the liners we have today, and that is unbelievable. But the sailors used to suffer from a complaint called scurvy. And I wondered about this there, where it came from. But the people at the time, the medical people at the time there, could not find a cure for scurvy because there was a flaking of the skin and everything else. So the only person that didn't get it was a cook that was on board the ship. So they thought, "Oh, well, what we'll do, we'll monitor this cook and see what he's eating or what he's doing." So they found that every now and then he'd take a lime or a lemon and he would slice it and eat it. And this was how they found out there was a lack of vitamin C. So every time that the sailors used to go into port, they used to stock up with limes or lemons, and therefore they got this name called limeys. So they said, "Oh, come another load of limeys," you know. Which is very interesting because, actual fact, if you think about a lemon, it's a very good fruit because if you take the lemon and you slice it, put it into a small half. If you eat 2 lemons a week, that will give you, it will thin your blood over a period of time. It's a very good fruit to eat. So if you're suffering from overweight and you're eating too much, eat a couple of lemons a week, because this helps to break down a lot of the sugar and that there in your body. It's counteracting, you know, like an alkali and an acid and things like that. So the acid, which is citric acid in the lemon, will help your digestive system. Also around inside the skin of the lemon is the lemon oil. And the lemon oil is that which gives you a nice complexion. I need to eat about a ton of them, I suppose. There, but anyway, this is an actual fact that we're not looking at natural things, or things which are coming to us naturally, which also comes back to me about another name. I was in Nigeria, and I was with a lot of high official government people, and I heard a gentleman I was with, he was one of the Nigerian government ministers, and I heard him said, "Oh, he's a nigger." And I thought, well, why is he calling him this bad name? It's supposed to be a bad name, nigger, okay? Now, when you go on television, you'll find that people will say, if it's from a country next to Nigeria, which is called Niger, that's how the locals pronounce it, Niger. And I found that the announcers on TV, they said Niger. No, it's not Niger. The local pronounce this name Niger. And I said to this official, I said, "Why did you call him a nigger?" He said, "Well, he is." And I said, "Well, you know, isn't that a bad word?" He said, "No." He says, "Where he come from, nigger." And that's the way they pronounce it. So I did more research into it. And I found that the word nigger came back from the slave trade. Now, the slave trade is that the sailors used to come across to pick up the slaves from Africa. They went to pick these people up, they took them back to England or wherever they're going to take them for, to the auctions. And the reason why they this word nigger came up is that because in that area, those men are muscular men. They're big, you know, powerful men. It's, you know, big muscles on them. You know? And at the auction, they wanted somebody, you know, who could do the work. They didn't want some little pygmy from the Congo. They wanted somebody who's a hard-working man. And this is what this word meant. The word nigger is that the people from that area of Niger is that they're hard-working, tough people. And this is what they want at the auction. So every time the auctions come up, the people would say to the sailors or to the captain of the boat or where he's going to go to Africa, "Bring me a nigger." And that's what the word nigger came back. But because of political correctness, we are shot down, because now if a policeman said, "Oh, where are you from, a nigger?" It's a proper question, but the reason why people get upset about it, because in Africa they have all different tribes, and this is a problem. All these different tribes, you know, if you're from Niger, or if you're from Kenya or the Maasai, or if you're from South Africa, the Zulu, or any other area, you've got different tribes, like the tribes of America. If you're a Sioux or a Pawnee or an Apache, you don't like to be called a Sioux. You say, "No, I'm not a Sioux, I'm an Apache." And it's the same with the African people. They have all these different tribes in that there, and you don't want to be called a Maasai if you're from the Niger area, or if you're a Zulu. It's not nice for you to say, "No, I'm not Zulu, I'm from Niger, or I'm Nigerian, or I'm, you know, Kenyan, Mali, or wherever you come from, or whatever religion, or whatever you want to do." Because people they don't want to be associated with the other tribe. That's why they have sort of marks on the face of It's a tribal thing. So these words are they're not words which are sort of offensive. They're actual facts from history. And we've got to stop taking this political card, using these words because somebody said it. You know, if you do wrong in life, if you do the crime, do the time. Don't complain about anybody else about it. There's nothing else you can do. So getting all these things done and learning about these things, it's nice to be able to find. We should learn more about history. We should take more time. At the moment, we're sitting at home with this pandemic caused by China, man-made. It didn't come from, it might have come from bats. But the thing is, I wonder, after watching this and sitting here, bored stiff, I've done a little bit of research. I wonder why more cocaine comes from China than Colombia. I wonder why a lot of factories and a lot of businesses are run by cocaine drug money from China. I wonder why a bank in England, and I'm not going to name it, is run by Chinese drug money. Isn't that funny? And then we find that when this pandemic comes along, 200 million gloves are sold to America. China has the first vaccine out. Their people are free from it. And we sell it, we buy their masks off them. We buy all theirs. Do you realize that the Chinese now are all in Canada? They're in the Bahamas. I even went for a PCR test. And the woman that brought me my results was Chinese. Okay, good luck to them. But isn't this a place where we have fair trade? Isn't this a thing where that you buy my goods and I'll buy yours? It's got to the point now is that China's making everything and we've allowed it. We've got greedy about the money. Now, are you working now? Where's the money coming from? You don't have a job. We're sitting here, no money, no jobs, no food in the shops. Farms are still working, obviously, but hopefully, but the Chinese are buying up all the farms, are buying up everything. And I wonder why it's the old people that they want to sort of get rid of. And why is it they want to get a lot of vaccines into Africa? You find a lot of deaths in Africa. You know, it's a case of a lot of time when the drug industry in these other places, it was billions of dollars a year for the common cold. Don't you people realize that? Are you all sitting there so stupid watching TV and hearing about the news and politicians that are telling you things that don't exist? Do you believe a politician? I don't. I don't believe a politician as far as I can see them. They're all a load of crooks, liars and thieves. But the problem is this, we allow this to go on. They come up to us and they promise us everything. That's why they don't like the middle class person like me, because I'm a problem to them. I know what they're up to. I've been there, seen it and done it. The same as charities. I wouldn't give a charity a penny the way they go on there. I haven't seen Africa. Where's the starving children there? I've never seen one. I've seen lepers sitting on the side of the street in Kenya and places like that. And I take the money and I'll put it into his tin. The kids down in Africa I've seen where there's been war-torn areas, they've got uniforms on in remote areas where we take food to them and drop food to them. The United Nations are making billions and billions of dollars out of it. And you see on television, you see this man standing with his little kid. Look at that kid. That kid's not starving. He just said to her, I'm going to break your neck or something like that, or I'm going to kill your mother or something, and it makes a kid cry. So they film it. So you, as an idiot, send your money. You know, what a sucker. You know, you're sending all that money over to Africa. Do you realise there's more billionaires in Lagos, near Lagos in Nigeria than there is anywhere else? And we send money over there, you know. I always say, you've got to laugh at it, you, where you send a pound off somewhere, you know, and then somebody else is in the United Nations and they're making millions. Yeah, keep the money in your pocket. You see a poor man on your own streets in your own country, give him some money. Now you've done something good. You helped your own people. You can't keep on helping foreign countries. Look at India. We sent £300 million over there from England. And they sent up a rocket. You know? They sent a rocket up and we're sending them £300 million. I've been to India. And let me tell you something, I didn't see one starving child. Not one. And their politicians have got airplanes, big cars, lovely houses, and they're paying people like me high money. You know, can you laugh at it? You've got to, really. Because the thing is this, these politicians, what they're doing, they're taking your money, your tax money that you're paying, and they're sending it, not using it in our own countries, they're sending it abroad to foreign people. But the problem is this, like Haiti, they sent $15 billion to Haiti. And has it improved Haiti? Are there nice houses people live in? Is there a nice sewage system? Is there a nice recycling system? No, it's a terrible cesspit. It's unbelievable. The United Nations are there, and are they going to do anything about it? No, they're not going to do nothing about it. Because they want to leave it that way, so you can see it that way, and you send them money. And the more you send them money, and the more United Nations and their politicians, nobody else give them money, they're not going to do anything because they don't want to get rid of that. It's a money pit. Oh, look at my place out here. It's got some rubbish. Oh, if we had some money, we could do it. Okay, how much do you want? Oh, we want 2 billion. Okay, send you 2 billion. Where did it go? Oh, it went to Switzerland, didn't it? Buy me a new jet. Of course it did. Did it clean up the mess here? Do you find the Ganges River getting cleaned up? Do you clean up all these other places? Do you see even our own hometowns? Our streets are filthy with rubbish and things like that. Because we're not doing anything about it. We don't care. It's the politicians that are running the countries, and they're the people that are using your money, your expertises, to take the money from you for taxes to give into their own pockets. Look at this pandemic. I found that some politician in England has now got a big raise of 300,000 a year, and somebody else had a bonus. Yet you're struggling when you're paying your taxes for these people. It's about time these politicians were brought to justice for incompetence and using people's money illegally. But can we do anything about it? No. Nobody cares. And the more like you'll be watching this film and says, oh, it's just a waste of time saying it. Yeah, I am. I'm just passing time because I'm bored stiff with this pandemic. But you're locked down, the same as I'm locked down. And what, can we work? You got any money to feed your kids? I wonder if the truck drivers stop work and you've got no food in your stomach, what are you going to do? Even in a Middle East country I just heard about, there's riots because there's no food. Can you imagine when there's no food, nobody work on the farms, there's no food, and you're sitting there, and you go to the fridge or the cupboard and there's no food there, what are you going to do? You can't eat the concrete. The money you got, you could have this room full up with money. It would be worthless. We've got to stop seeing it. We've got to go back to the basics of life. We've got to now start thinking about cleaning this planet up, making life much easier. Stop complaining about different other things that we keep on moaning about. We've got to stop thinking about the other Ferrari we need or the Rolls Royce. We've got to say, we've got to look after this land. The first priority is to clean this planet up. The land, the sea and the air, it's all polluted. Me, you, don't have the right to pollute this earth. We have to look after it. We've got to stop killing each other. You know what these wars and that are going on around? It's absolutely disgraceful. You know, no wonder God turns his back on us. We create wars. We don't realise how nice it is to live another day, to breathe, look at the trees, hear the birds, feel the sun, watch the stars at night time. No. All we're thinking about is feeding the fat bodies, how much money we got, bigger car. I'm going to say, just think about today. You're sitting at home. Is the house any good to you? Not really, you know. Can you sell it? No. Nobody's about to buy it. Can you use your car? No. So all these items, you've got to realise now, all these items that you've been working for are really a waste of time. A waste of time. You've forgotten to say hello to everybody. Good morning. How are you? Like they did years ago. People say, hey, good morning, how are you? Now, you walk down the street and somebody's got a phone in front of their face. They're oblivious to everything except the phone. Can you believe it? Did you think that years ago you'd have a lockdown with a virus? You can't walk up to somebody and say, good morning, and shake the hand? No, we've forgotten all the basics of life. But as we're sitting down here and we're doing nothing, stop and think. Stop and think. What can I do to help clean up the place? First of all, look at your back garden. Oh, I've got a back garden. Clean up the rubbish. Use it. Plant some vegetables. Plant some fruit trees. The trees will help to clean the air. Look at this pandemic. We've found that with this pandemic, the rivers, the sea, other places have become clear. Because we don't have people like you and me polluting the places. This is what we've got to realise. We've got to stop this thing. We've got to stop thinking about it. I'm going to say the thing is, just think about it. How many trees can you name? How many stars can you name? If you look at the sky on a dark night, and a real dark night, you can take a pin and you can prick the sky with a pin, and everywhere you prick will be a star or a planet. There's that many. It's like taking a sand beach and turn it upside down. There's that many. Absolutely billions. I was in a foreign country and I looked up there one day and I could have laid there the rest of the day in life looking at the stars. There's billions of them. There's not just a few stars we see because of too much light. There are billions out there. And we can't even name 5 of them, you know, because we've forgotten the basics of life. We've forgotten to say hello. We've forgotten, you know, all these nice things to help the next door neighbour or to help somebody else. Do we have to be this way all the time? No, I think this pandemic should have taught us really a lesson, and perhaps it might have taught the government some lesson to be able to help the people a bit more instead of keeping the money and all the billions in their own pockets. You know, it's just totally disgraceful how people have just come along and they've ruined different places, you know. They've just absolutely, they don't care, and they just want to move in. Now we come up to the immigrant situation where a lot of people are coming to Europe and to England now from war-torn areas. I wonder why they don't go to Africa. Africa is a huge continent, a very rich country. The west coast of Africa, they've got gold, diamond, uranium, oil. Lovely beaches, really nice. The African people are very nice people also. You know, and they're hard-working people. Not that they have a lot of money in that there, because the governments are keeping the money themselves, and they don't bother to clean up all it. But when the pandemics come, it affects everybody. Politicians, everybody. But the politicians have the money to be able to buy the vaccines where the poor can't. And the politicians don't care about the poor. They want the poor because they promise them everything to keep them in power so they can have all the riches. That's why they don't like middle class people like me who speak out about it and tell people about it, you know. Isn't it really disgraceful the way man has treated other men? We find wars going. Look at these war-torn areas. It's an absolute disgrace. I don't know where God is to allow things like this, but people get, you know, hard-working people in these countries. Doesn't matter, you know, just because they speak a foreign language, don't mean to say they're a load of scumbags. Just because they've got a dirty pair of clothes on, or whatever, you know, don't mean to say that they're poor. They might be more educated than you, might be a better soldier than you, a better man than you, or a woman, or whatever. You can't condemn these people. But the problem is this: the only other thing with immigrants is that the Britons allowed them, for example, just take Britain, they've allowed them into the country, but they haven't integrated. They haven't come and said, oh, this country has allowed me into their country. I will abide by their laws, I'll abide by their rules, everything else that's there, and I'll integrate into the system and become a good citizen for that country. No. They've come from their war-torn, thieving areas, and they've brought their ways with them into that country. And it's like an apple. Once the apple starts to rot, when it gets to 95% rotten, what do? You've got to throw the apple away. And this is what's happened with Europe and the other countries. The people from these foreign countries, they've come to these countries. They want the work. They work for less money. They brought their own ways with it. They haven't integrated into the system. And they've ruined that country. They've taken away the identity of that country. And what they've done, they've brought their ways from that country to another country, bringing that problem from that country to the new country. And the politicians have allowed it. Oh, he comes from a war-torn area. And if he goes back, they'll kill him. Oh, all right then. Well, that's fair enough. I can understand that. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Instead of coming to England, we'll give you an airline ticket to Nigeria. Or to another African place, South Africa or something like that. And then the money that we have paid for these people could help that we can put the money into that place. They even like the Sahara. The place is empty. We could change the Sahara Desert into fields and crops and, you know, trees and everything else in there. But do we do it? No. We spend all this money, corrupt money from these politicians, and we allow all these people into our country who don't want to integrate. It's like Idi Amin. Nobody liked Idi Amin, but the man turned round to the Asian community there and he said, excuse me, I've allowed you into my country, and over several years you haven't integrated. You've brought your own culture with you, your own ways. You want us to change your ways. Now I'm going to tell you all to get out. And that's what he did. And Britain, with Harold Wilson, allowed all the immigrants from Uganda to come on over. And we helped these people. But look at the cities in England now. They're all run by Asians and people like that there. Have they integrated into the system? No, they've brought their own way with it. There are actual places now with Sharia law in England. The British law doesn't stand anymore at these places. So the identity of Britain, the schooling of Britain where they don't show history because of political correctness, it's all changed. If a white man says something about a black man, here's the problem. If a black man says something about a white man, nothing's done about it. I've seen this happen with many times. Even that the police have turned the back on different factions who have gone out, and they've actually shown there are gangs around which are raping white women. And the police are turning a blind eye on it. Is this what we want in our country, in our world, anywhere in any country in the world? Is this what we want? Is this the future of the world changing for the worst? That you won't be able to go out unless you're beaten up by gangs because the politicians and the police today have done nothing. And they won't do anything, because if they do anything, they're fired. They're told, hey, go home. Will they do it? No, because they want their job to be able to pay the taxes and their mortgages and the school fees for their children and food for their kids. They need that job. So what do? Zip, zip, they keep quiet. They won't say anything about it. But it's got to be a change in all the world, everywhere, from Russia, from China. Look at the pollutants that China put out there. They're being told about it. Look at the filth around. Look at your own street. When you walk down there, people just throw rubbish out. Dirty, filthy bins are not washed out. The rivers are filthy. Plastic bottles stuck in, beer cans. Everybody just chuck things out. And that's why we've got a pandemic, because this is because of filth. Whether it's man-made or not, let's say it's from some of these markets in China. Why are these markets so damn filthy? You go to a market anywhere, like in London, let's go down there. The place used to be filthy. They used to stink. They were not washed out or anything like that, or cleaned up. No, the flies are about and everything else. That's why we all get sick. Over the years, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Because we're not doing anything about anything. We're not learning about history, we're not learning about anything. We're just sitting here complaining about anything, like me, because I'm bored stiff. But I'm just trying to say a few facts that people already know about. Like I said, we've got to stop doing all these things. We've got to clean up our act for once and for all, make life a bit more pleasant. We just can't do all these things, it's we're polluting everything. It's such a shame that we've got the sun out, we don't use solar power as much. They're talking about electric cars. Electric cars? What are you talking about? Electric vehicles were out in the 1950s. The baker and the milkman in the 1950s used to have electric carts. It's got there, I used to hang on the back of them to pull me up the hill on my push bike. But the thing is, 1950, now we're saying, oh, this is marvellous. We're going to have an electric car. Isn't this great? Listen, you idiots, you know what, 1950 to 2021, now you're saying it's a good idea? Say really, can you believe how stupid the politicians are, Absolutely pathetic people. I'm sorry to say, well, you know why a politician's a politician? It's because he can't get another job anywhere else. He's got to be a politician to steal some money because he ain't got the brains to do any other good job. They're very ignorant people, That's why they're politicians, unfortunately. We have to put up with them, We've got the we've got rid of the scrapings of the barrel in the politicians. We've got nobody with any sense to be able to tell them anything because they don't want to know. They don't know. They're all sort of, one tunnel vision, Anyway, well, I suppose most of you will sort of turn this video off and don't blame me anyway. So, anyway, I hope this new year might be a better one, but I doubt it. I doubt it. This pandemic's going to go on for another 2 years, so start worrying about it too much. When you've got no money, just sit there and laugh about it. Say, hey, I've got no money, I've got no food. I now weigh from 200 pounds, I now weigh 110 pounds, That'll do you good. At least you've got some fat on you, so you'll be able to burn it off. So anyway, next time you go out, say good morning to somebody and put your phone away, okay? So keep on texting everybody and chatting to people around the world. That's why you can't talk to politicians. They know that what they're doing, but they'll come and ask you for a vote. Yeah. I don't know. Politicians. There are people here and gone tomorrow, people. So like I said, it's up to you and me to stop just destroying everything. We've got to make this planet a place for the future generations. And if we don't do it, there's going to be no future for mankind. It's lucky that this virus, it hasn't stopped yet. It's lucky that it doesn't kill us all off. So we have to thank if it was man-made in China, we have to thank them. Thank you, Chinese, for killing us all off. It's very kind of you. And when they're laying in the streets and bodies are laying in the streets rotting, perhaps somebody will say, hey, I think we should clean the place up. That's going to be too late. That's how it never happens anyway. So watch the video. If you like it, say so. If you don't, argue about it. I don't care.